Welcome to Soul Knowledge. I'm your host, Rocky K of Tune Into Wellness. We are souls having a human experience, and this podcast is where we remember that. Your soul has lived lifetimes. It has a history, a purpose, and a wisdom that goes deeper than anything your mind can analyze. My work through Reiki, hypnotherapy, past life regression, subconscious healing, and intuitive transformation is to help you not just learn about your soul, but to actually know it. Here I'll be sharing real stories from real sessions, lessons from the unseen, and truth-telling about what healing really looks like. The messy, mystical, holy, human, sometimes hilarious, often uncomfortable, absolutely life-changing parts of it all. And I'll warn you now, if you don't like the honest language or the occasional well-placed F-bomb, this is not the podcast for you. Because sometimes the most spiritual thing you can say is, fuck this, I'm done repeating this pattern. So let's take a breath. Tune in. Let go of what you think you know. And let's drop into the wisdom your soul's been trying to give you all along. Welcome home. Welcome to Soul Knowledge. Hello, and welcome back to the Soul Knowledge Podcast. This is Rocky, and today's episode is surprisingly something personal, very personal. And honestly, if I am being really honest, this is one of those episodes that my younger self probably would never have imagined that I would be sharing publicly. So because the woman I am today is so wildly different than I was 15 years ago. And sometimes I think people look at someone who is grounded, spiritual, connected, intuitive, successful, peaceful, happy, calm, and they just make this assumption that they always have been or things have been really easy for them. And I tend to look at people in the opposite. I think some of the kindest souls have been through the hardest journeys. And I'm not saying that I've had the hardest journey. Trust me, I know for a fact I have not. But I do know that my journey leading up to this point was not super easy. But I know now you get to hear a little bit more of my story, and I get to see that I'll let up to something. But what people miss, though, on the inside is that for years, there was self-abandonment. I shut down. I was definitely in survival mode, had anxiety, which I am not an anxious person. I totally disconnected from God, and you can call it whatever you want, but I was raised in a church, and I still hold a lot of those beliefs. I don't put those on my clients, but doesn't mean that I don't believe in God, source. I do call it source a lot just because of the spiritual community, but it's all the same energy to me. And then there are moments that I don't recognize who I was then. And it's so crazy to sit down and reflection. So today I want to talk about this because I know there's many women that are quietly living there right now where I was 15 years ago in that survival mode. And we were in this place, and it's not because we're bad people. And it's not because we're necessarily broken, but it's because life has had a way of hurting us enough that survival became our personality. And I know that woman deeply because I definitely used to be her. I was full on survival and I did not want any help. So let's dive into this conversation today. So if my 45-year-old self could sit down with my 30-year-old self, oh boy, that would be an interesting conversation. There are moments I would lovingly grab her face and say, stop. Stop pushing everyone away. Stop pretending like you're fine and stop, for the love of God, abandoning yourself. I was hurting so bad internally, but externally I looked functional. And I was. I was high achieving, I was capable, independent, strong. Emotionally and spiritually, though, I was completely disconnected from myself in a way I didn't even fully understand at that time. I had built walls completely around my heart. I stopped trusting people. I shut down emotionally. I pushed people away who loved me, and I completely disconnected from God. I stopped praying, and that is something that has never not been me. I grew up going to Catholic school, and we were not a family. Let me put that out there. We were not the family that went to church on Sundays, okay? But as a teenager, I started to go on my own, and my mom would often go with me. After my aunt was killed, my prayers were very regimented because I felt a little guilt. Like I didn't pray for her, and if I had prayed for her, my 13-year-old self, maybe she would have lived. Maybe she would have been protected more had I prayed for her. So they were really, really regimented, and I had sure that I prayed for all my people. And I still do to this day, but I had a moment that I shut that part of me off, and I knew I knew that I wasn't praying, and I knew there was something really wrong with me. And for a while, I really didn't care, if I'm being honest. And the saddest part is, underneath all of that, I knew I was a good person. I was a loving person. I mean, I was raising my girls, and I adored them, and I was showing up to them the best I could, and we had fun. I have good memories, fun memories with my girls. But, it was a facade, right? We do that. We put on these really brave faces, these masks, but life had hurt me enough that hardness felt safer than softness. And I think a lot of women live there. We become icy, short-tempered, overstimulated, controlling, and emotionally unavailable, and especially to those that we probably love the most and feel the safest with. And we don't do this because it's truly who we are. It's because our nervous systems has been in survival mode for so long. Shortly after all of this had happened, I moved to Hawaii. And I mean, Hawaii, right? Aloha. I had lived there before, and so this wasn't something new. I was super excited. I was going to go back there with my kids. The island is gorgeous. And I was so excited to show them all these little nooks and crannies of Hawaii. Excited to lay on my favorite beach. Hawaii is, it's picturesque, right? And there's healing energy, and it's such a beautiful and peaceful place. But for me, oh Lord, did that season crack me wide open. We moved there because my husband's in the Navy, or he is retired now. And at that point in my life, I was already trying to get myself together, trying to breathe again, trying to heal, trying to reconnect myself. And I really thought maybe changing my environment would finally change me. Because at this point, I had already been introduced to hypnotherapy. I had already been introduced to Reiki. And so now it was just the integration, right? So I moved into my house, and within months, I had rats in my house. Rats, y'all. They fucking ate my potato that was like on my counter, and I was wigging out, and I even posted it on Facebook, and I thought I had a mouse, and I was like, oh my God, I have mice in my house. Look, it ate my potato, posted it on Facebook, and my brother-in-law calls me, and he's like, Rocky, that is not a mouse. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not a mouse? Because I'm wigging the fuck out about having a mouse, and there's no man in the house to come and get this because I don't touch animals. especially not rodents. And he's like, Rocky, that is definitely a rat. And I'm like, oh God, I completely, completely lost my absolute living shit, which let's just put it this way, that when I called the property manager after that conversation, here's one of my proudest moments. I was no longer allowed to call. I needed to text or email. Everything had to be in writing at that point because I wasn't very nice, because they told me to handle it. And I just moved into this house and there's fucking rats in my house. So yeah, no, actually, I'm not going to handle that. And so I really am not sorry about that, but well, we'll get back to that later. Anyways, in Hawaii though, like everybody thought it was fucking normal. They thought it was so normal. And I was like, dude, maybe this is common in Hawaii to have these rats, but it is not fucking normal, okay? It's not normal. I mean, I was barely sleeping. My nervous system was completely wrecked. I was anxious all the time, hypervigilant, exhausted. My kids were sleeping in my room. I was like barricading us in my bedroom because I did not want the rats to come in there at night. And I mean, there's even an entertaining story. I was standing on my kitchen table the one evening and I could hear them moving in the walls. And I stood up on my table and I'm like wigging out. And the only thing I have in my hand is my phone. I was like, yeah, I'm going to throw my phone at it if it comes out and I see it. Oh my God, thank God I did not see it, because then I ended up just running to my room. And I went to bed by 8 p.m. every night until all the rats were out of my house, because I did not want to hear them. I did not want to see them. Nothing. Y'all, it was crazy. And if you go back to my old Facebook posts, oh, they were highly entertaining. Highly entertaining. It wasn't entertaining in the moment. I was fucking tired, okay? But I just remember feeling like life just like kept hitting me. And I was like, can I like get a moment to breathe? Like, this is supposed to be like a cool, like new start. And then right after I get rid of the rats, I picked up my stalker. So, and if you haven't heard that story about my aunt being killed, my stalker, my story, it's earlier in my podcast episodes. And I'm just like, holy smoke, turn after turn after turn after turn after turn. And at the time, I actually genuinely thought I deserved it, because I had stopped praying, to God for so long. Like, I had disconnected before I moved there. And I was actually back to praying at this point, but I felt like I was getting my karma, right? And so, and I had hardened myself up, I'd shut down my heart. Like, I thought in this moment, like, life was just punishing me. So I was just like, okay, so I deserve this. Cool. Okay, whatever. But now, like, reflecting back, like, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe God was punishing me. I've never believed in that kind of God. I don't believe in punishment. I don't believe he's punishing us. I think he truly wants, or she, I don't care what it's, I'm going to say he for sake of this podcast. I don't think I was being punished. I believe that life was actually initiating me. And I believe those experiences were forcing me to become stronger, to become more intuitive, become more connected, become more aware. And I believe those seasons were teaching me how to create safety inside myself, instead of waiting for that external world to finally feel safe, right? And honestly, one of the biggest things healing taught me was that everything, the safety is always inside. It's not something externally is going to keep you safe. Healing isn't about life becoming perfect or even the person you used to be. Healing is becoming the version of yourself that can hold life differently. The person that recognizes herself in her story and recognizes which parts of her were never actually her. She recognizes the part of her that survived and the part that did whatever needed to be done to get by. Healing is not returning to who you were, but becoming the woman that wears her scar proudly, and steps into days with love, peace, strength, vulnerability, purpose, and resiliency. So, like I said earlier, before I went to Hawaii, I was introduced to Reiki, and we had a few months in Florida, and that's where I actually trained to be attuned to Reiki energy. I thought it was just such a valuable tool the first time I got it that I'm like, this is something like I need. I need this for me. And it's funny because when I originally trained in Reiki, I did it just to deepen my meditations and to help manage my stress, right? And that was it. I never, never imagined how profoundly it would have changed my life because Reiki wasn't just energy work for me. It became a lifeline that helped me regulate my nervous system. It helped me reconnect to my body. Reiki helped me soften the walls around my heart, and it helped me feel connected to God again. Not religion, not the rules, connection, presence, trust, peace. And what I love about Reiki is that it gently brings you back to yourself, back to your intuition, back to your body, and back to your inner knowing. And when you've spent years abandoning yourself, that is life changing. And I will not lie either. I lost Reiki in a lot of that chaos somewhere along the way. I still sought out Reiki to be done to myself, but I left the practice of me performing Reiki on myself just because I was so wildly stressed, wildly lost, terrified that I needed somebody else to fill me up at that time. Life life always has a way of circling back, and in this case, I am really grateful that Reiki came back around to me for me to use after the years that I kind of walked away from it. But I also want to talk about how things are portrayed on social media. Social media can make healing look aesthetic and magical and fast. But let's be really honest here. Healing is uncomfortable. Healing can be slow. Healing can look like crying yourself to sleep, feeling triggered, facing patterns you don't want to face, the awareness of how you have been abandoning yourself for years. Healing asks you to stop running. And there were so many moments where I wanted quicker answers, faster transformation, immediate relief. I wanted a fucking magical wand. But now I can look back and see that every single step mattered, especially the painfully slow ones. Every hard conversation, every breakdown, every prayer, every uncomfortable realization, even to this day, it was all shaping me into the woman I was becoming. And if you are on your journey, please, 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 please do not quit on yourself because the process is uncomfortable. And sometimes the discomfort is the actual transformation. And yes, I promise you, I am speaking from wisdom. So I truly believe some of you listening to this episode are in this exact season I used to be in. And I know that is why I was called to record that here today. And whatever day it is that you're listening to this on, I know it's meant for you. And if you're in that season of being disconnected, overwhelmed, emotionally exhausted, longing to feel that peace again, if that's you, I want you to know that there is another side to this. Not because someone saves you. Sorry, it's not happening. But it's because you finally stop abandoning yourself. You're the hero. You are the magic, and that is why I do the work I do. Hypnotherapy is wildly transformative and clearing, but Reiki is the tool that you can do on yourself every single day. Reiki is not just energy work, but it is a tool for reconnection, for grounding, self-trust, spiritual connection, nervous system healing. I truly believe, Reiki or any type of energy work should be spread to everyone. Everyone can benefit from it. And if this is something that interests you, please reach out to me. As I'm recording this, my next Learn the Art of Reiki 1 and Tuning In is on June 27th. And it is truly for the woman who's ready to come home to herself. The woman who is tired of carrying everything alone. The woman who knows there has to be more than survival mode. And maybe this episode found you for a reason. Thank you for being here today. If this episode spoke to that heart of yours, share it with someone who needs it. And as always, just breathe. Trust yourself and tune in. Because you, my friend, are always, always, always the magic. Thank you for tuning in and for doing this work, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to you. If this episode stirred something in you, trust that. Share it, leave a review, send it to someone whose soul needs it. Your voice and your ripple matter. And if you're ready to go deeper, to explore your past lives, heal your patterns, reconnect to your soul, or work with me one-on-one, head over to tuneintowellness.com or connect with me on Instagram. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and remember, your soul already has the answers. Be bold, be light, be you. I'll see you next time on Soul Knowledge.